No. All right, we're going to call a meeting to order. This will be the Planning Commission meeting of March the 5th. The clerk, please call the roll.
Seeger.
Here.
McInnes. Truxillo.
Here.
Doherty.
Here.
Horn.
Here.
Gaines.
Here.
Crawford.
Here.
Narcisse. Troncoso. Hernandez.
Here.
Accardo. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, public announcements. Please silence all phones and electronic devices. If you disagree with the decision the commission makes, you have the right to appeal it to the council. Speaker cards are over on the railing to my right, and please fill them out if you're going to speak. We need your name and address and email address if you have an email address, and so we have a way of contacting folks. Public speaking, 10 minutes each side and 5 minutes for rebuttal. Please exit the building once your case is heard, if you wish. Otherwise, you can stay for the whole meeting. Please rise for the invocation by Commissioner Seeger and the pledge by Commissioner Crawford.
Have your press to speak on the side.
Heavenly Father, great architect of the universe, we beseech your continued blessings upon the citizens, elected officials, employees, and this commission of St. Tammany Parish. May we realize that your all-seeing eye is upon us and be influenced by the Spirit of truth, that we might enjoy thy divine approbations here below. Dear God, grant us the faith of Job, the strength of Samson, and the wisdom of Solomon as we endeavor to positively influence the policies of our fair parish for the good of all of its citizens. Let the world, and especially St. Tammany Parish, be a better place for us by us being here. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Okay. We got, on the agenda, there's election of officers, but that will be pushed back a month.
Most likely a month or, yes.
Okay. All right, so we go to the approval of the January 9th minutes. Commissioner Crawford. Motion to accept the minutes as written. Do I have a second?
A second.
Philip Truxillo, second. Please vote.
Mr. Chairman, I think it was seconded by Mr. Gaines, seconded.
Oh, okay, well, I had two of them up, so. All right, so we got a second by Gaines. Where the hell's the what? Oh.
Put it on the side.
Get on.
I think we're missing one. We're missing a vote. I believe we're missing one. Thank you. Motion to accept the minutes as written carries.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Helen, we got any postponements?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You have to, when you see it in yellow, you have to hit it to make it green so the mic works.
Okay, but that one's not working like
I
it.
cannot control the mics, only you.
Oh,
and the clerk.
okay. All right, well, Well, and you did not have any,
No, sir.
okay, thank you. All right, we'll go to item 1, which is entering the parish right-of-way, servitudes, easement, and Tammany Trace. Item 1, request to enter the parish right-of-way for Charlie Street and Fifth Avenue, Alexisville subdivision, for the purpose of gaining access to the property of and red-eye improvements at the Charlie Street and Fifth Street intersection. The debtor is Bevelo Gas and Electric LLC, Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Pat Phillips. General location, the property is located north of Three Rivers Road, west of US Highway 190, Covington, Ward 3, District 5. Staff?
Yes, sir. The petitioner has made a request to open a section of Charlie Street and Fifth Avenue in the Alexisville subdivision for the purpose of gaining access to the property, including roadway work, drainage improvements, and utility work. Staff has no objection to the request at the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, someone here. Good evening.
Williams, Deep South Design Group, 368 Jade Court, Madisonville, here representing Bevelo Lighting. Little context on the project. Bevelo Lighting has a facility that is directly adjacent to this property, and they are looking to expand that facility. And in order to do that, they will need to open up about 400 feet of Charlie Street and make some improvements to the Charlie and Fifth Street intersection.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? You need to come to the microphone, state your name and address.
First time doing this. How are you? I'll talk to you later, sure. My name is Melanie Roberts, and I live on 6th Avenue. There is no exit from my home. Delta is not an open street, and they are, well, I will fill that out. They are looking to improve the roads. Glad is improving his business, but how long is this construction going to take, and how can I get in and out of my home? I'm the only house on 6th Avenue and no exit. I'm off of Charlie and 6th. How do I get out? How long is the construction going to take? And then they're going to be doing construction on 5th and Charlie to widen or the radii of a turn for the 18-wheelers that are going to be back there. That's my questions.
Okay, we'll get you an answer. Does anyone else wish to speak against? All right, gentleman from Bevelo.
Thank you.
I want to turn it over to you to answer the lady's questions.
I'm not sure I can answer with any certainty how long the project will take at this point. It's very preliminary. It's not weeks to build 400 foot of roadway. I mean, it's going to take several weeks or a month and a half to do that. But I would fully expect that provisions will be made for any of the residents in the neighborhood to have access, maintain access to their property. I can't imagine that the parish would allow us to block the street and keep people from accessing their property. So we fully intend to work with everybody in the neighborhood and the parish while those improvements are being made.
Okay. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, sir.
Pardon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Gaines.
I have a question for the lady.
Yes, sir.
If you could step to the microphone. Are you satisfied with that resolution?
Well, to a point, but there is no one else in the neighborhood that's going to be closed in from being able to get out into
So
traffic.
you're on 6th Street, correct?
6th Avenue.
6th Avenue, correct?
Right.
And so I'm looking at your house on satellite. You don't have access. Is that Delta Street? Does not come all the way down to, so it stops short? I just want to understand
Yes.
the issue. Yeah, okay. So it stops short of where you could access Delta Street.
Right.
So you guys, well, provide access in and out of 6th Avenue so she can access her home?
Absolutely. So the proposed improvements, Charlie Street stops at 6th currently. So all of the work will be happening from
6th Avenue down?
south towards
okay.
Three Rivers Road. Right.
Okay,
Is that satisfactory?
that is. Now,
Okay.
you're also doing Fifth and Charlie,
Yes, ma'am.
so how does that gonna work?
That's
So I
all-
still can't get out.
Yeah, no, again.
Well, they're not gonna block the
We
street
will
because
not block the street.
there's other
Yeah.
businesses there that have to
Right,
access as
right.
well.
Well, they also can go park in the front of their building. This is the rear of their building, and their Gulf Industries, I don't know if it's Gulf Industries anymore,
Gulf Management.
Gulf Management
Yeah.
can park in the front of their building. And they have access to 190 and whatever.
Sure.
They can also park in the back of their building, but that's their only exit also is
We're gonna-
Charlie and Fifth Avenue.
Sure.
We have no intentions of blocking the intersection of Charlie and Fifth Street.
No, I don't think you do.
No.
I'm just making sure that, I can get
Sure.
out.
Sure.
That's all.
All right, if all that's satisfactory, I make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Commissioner Truxillo.
This is for Ted. Ted, in this situation, you aware of it? You comfortable with it? Okay, I second.
You got a second? Commissioner Troncoso.
I was just gonna bring up the issue of access from up to Fifth, as an, alternative. Fifth Avenue is improved to Sixth. So there's a left turn for her to get out from Sixth Avenue, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, that's fine, thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
I think we have an extra vote somehow.
You got
Oh,
none?
okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right, motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, we go to item 2, request to enter the parish right-of-way for Atkins Street, Warren Street, Eldora Avenue, Tammany Terrace subdivision for the purpose of gaining access to the property. The debtor is Tammany Terrace LLC. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Larry Rowling. General location, the property is located south of Walden Street, north of Tammany Avenue, east of Louisiana Highway 437, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
Yes, sir. The petitioner is requesting to open portions of Atkins Street, Warren Street, and Eldora Avenue in Tammany Terrace subdivision for the purpose of gaining access to the property. Scope of work includes roadway improvements, drainage improvements, and utility improvements. Staff has no objections at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Ms. Morone.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Paul Marone on behalf of Tammany Terrace LLC. My client owns lots on Atkins, Warren, and Eldora Street. These rights-of-way abut those lots, but they need to be built out and constructed so that we can access our property. That's the basis for our request. Tammany Terrace is a long existing subdivision. Goes back, it's one of the old paper subdivisions. We're familiar with all of the requirements of the parish and the resolution. We intend to comply with all of those. The only thing that I would point out, that in case there was any confusion, one of the exhibits shows the rights-of-way, and these rights-of-way do extend all the way to Lee Road. However, as has been the case with the other rights-of-way we have entered, we do not intend to make additional curb cuts onto Lee Road. Because of the nature of Lee Road, particularly in this area, the speed, we don't believe that would be the safest way to do it. Tammany Avenue is the main ingress and egress, and so our intent is to access through Tammany Avenue. I didn't want there to be any confusion, or if there was questions about looking at that exhibit, I wanted to make sure to make that clear. And you may recall the last time we entered the right-of-way, there was discussion about Tammany Avenue and making sure that the apron was widened so that it was easier for ingress and egress. And that was something that we were obligated to do and will do as part of that last approval. So by the time these rights-of-ways are done, that improvement will be in at that time. I appreciate your consideration. Again, we need these approvals to be able to access these lots, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time. Thank
Okay.
you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for this resolution? Anyone wish to speak against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Morone, what is the current zoning of that area, please? I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me.
The zoning, I think it is, I'm not sure. I think it's A2, but I'm not certain about that, Mr. Seeger. I see Mr. Reynolds is looking to maybe answer that question. The reason I don't know that these are lots of records, so oftentimes the lots of record don't correspond to the zoning, which has been changed many times since the lots were created. I believe this is A2, but I could be mistaken.
What's the name of the street?
Eldora, Atkins, Tammany Terrace subdivision. While they're looking at it, it has been, so these are lots of record. They're larger than a lot of the other lots of record, Tammany Hills and so forth. What we have historically done is combined at least 2 or 3 of those lots so that the widths are 90 feet at a minimum. And that's been our practice and would continue to be our practice for the lots that abut each of these 3 streets.
And you said it will not, there will be no ingress or egress onto Lee Road.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm kind of waiting to hear
It is A2 Suburban.
A2 Suburban.
Okay. Tom?
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Pardon?
Commissioner Horn.
Yeah, you're down the way a little bit. Commissioner Troncoso.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Troncoso. Commissioner Horn.
I was going to second this one.
Okay. All right. So no further discussion. Please vote.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, we go to item 3, cases 2024-3689-MSP. It's a minor subdivision of 0.99 acres, 0.89 acres, 1.69 acres, and 24.64 acres in the parcels A, B, and C. Owner and representative is Stephen Raphael Savoy and Fredaco LLC, Fred Creighton, manager. Surveyors, Land Surveying LLC, Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Larry Rowling. General location, property is located on the end of Pellegrin Drive and on the end of Wall Lane, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 3 parcels. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcels A and B are proposed to be created off of Pellegrin Drive, which is an open parish right-of-way and subject to the construction up to parish standards, or subject to a future minor subdivision and the construction of a private drive if the pending street revocation is approved by the parish council. Parcel B is also proposed to be accessed from a secondary private road, wall lane, and requiring a waiver of the Unified Development Code. Parcel C does not meet the minimum lot width of 150 feet as required under the A2 Suburban Zoning District and requiring a waiver of the Unified Development Code. And Parcel C does not have public road access and requiring a waiver of the Unified Development Code. The request shall be subject to items 1 and 2. Also, I just want to bring up to your attention, if you may recall, that Pellegrin Drive was on the agenda for revocation, approval for revocation last month, and the Planning Commission granted approval. Now, it will come back to you later on after the final approval, if it's finally approved by the council, to include that portion of that road into Parcel A and Parcel B. But at this time, the request is to create Parcel A and Parcel B. And then the objective of Parcel C is proposed for the detentions for the Savannah subdivisions, which is located south of the property. And the Savannahs are located inside of the city limits of Covington. So there'll be, work being done between the parish and between the city to improve the drainage in that area.
Okay, thank you. Do we have someone here to speak on behalf? Good evening.
Good afternoon, Chairman and council members. I'm Frida of Frida Co. LLC, spelled like Fred. 3 things are happening with this property. On the south side is the part that the city and the parish will collaborate and put in a culvert for that neighborhood that's inundated during rainy seasons. And then my friend and neighbor, Stephen Savoy, is going to add 6 acres to his already existing 2 that he has there south of this road. And then the 1 acre that is north of the road is property that I'm donating, and Cretan Townsend Homes is building a donated house for a former Navy SEAL in our community who is now a quadriplegic. So that incorporates the road. That's the 3 things happening with this property that you're going to see. So our request today deals with the 6 acres for Mr. Savoy purchasing.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Anyone wish to speak against? I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission, and I think that's a very good thing for Cretan to be doing and y'all to be donating. Commissioner Horn.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Horn to approve.
With the waivers.
With the
waivers.
Right. Commissioner McInnes.
I'm up staff. Can you help us identify on the map where the 6 acres is that she referenced? Because we see parcel A 17.4 acres, parcel B 9.59 acres.
So
Parcel-
if, I'm sorry,
Parcel C 1.22. So
So if you take a look at the 0.889 acres, the 0.99 acres, so then and then you have a 1.69 acres. This is all being combined together. So basically, it's like a 6-acre parcel that's being added to the 0.8, 0.9, and 1.6, and it's becoming 9.59 acres.
okay.
So we have multiple parties involved into this transaction.
So, but you're going to end up with parcels A, B, and C.
That's correct.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
We have a second by Commissioner McInnes. Commissioner Troncoso.
Question for the staff. Why would there be a parcel C that's a detention pond? Why break it out? Is there anything, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It has to be broken up to be acquired by the city and by the parish to be able to do the work. And, you know, with all due respect, you know, sometimes we have just a servitude. However, in this case, it's a city and parish endeavor. It's, you know, preferable to acquire and to do the work that we need to do.
Does Savannah Phase 3 drain also into that?
I'm not an expert in drainage, sir. So I don't have a whole lot of information about the drainage here. I'm just bringing up to you the project.
I'm just asking relative to the subdivision to the south of this. There's going to be a detention parcel created.
If I'm not mistaken, they're trying to put a culvert. Ted, do you have some information in that regard?
In regards to where the Savannah drains, according to the as-built, it should all drain into Painty Pines Lane. Now, I'm sure some of it drains where the low points are. Regarding the actual project being constructed on the undeveloped piece of property to the north, I have not seen the plans yet, but I'm sure that it's supposed to include a regional pond in this area under the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement, so it would help assimilate some of the drainage in there. But to tell you with certainty where it drains and how it drains, I don't know that yet, but if you want, I can look into it and find those for you.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, see no one else in the queue, and we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion to approve with waivers carries.
Thank you. All right, we go to item 4, minor subdivision of parcel A, lots 1 and 2, Prieto's Ozone Industrial Park, phase 1 into parcels A1 and lots 2A and 3A of Prieto's Ozone Industrial Park, phase 1. The owners of Prieto's Ozone Industrial Park, Ernest Prieto, Marie Elise Prieto, Joan Prieto Doolittle, Calla Isabel Prieto, the succession of Clay Carl Prieto, Rosalind Filippello Prieto, and independent executives and Golden Properties LLC, Lauren B. Golden. Representative is David Derbies. The surveyor is Land Surveying LLC. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Arthur Laughlin. General location, the property is located on the south side of North Lane and the north side of South Lane, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 11. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 3 parcels from parcel A, lot 2 and 3 of Prieto's Ozone Industrial Park Phase 1. The minor subdivision request requires public hearing due to parcel A was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in August 2022, and the request shall be subject to items 1, 2, and 3. If you take a look at the survey, also one of the requests from the property owner, if you look at lots 2A and 3A, what you see here in your packet is probably that the 20-foot drainage servitude is some sort of a 3/4 of the way crossing. This proposed drainage servitude is going to be moved to the northern part of those 2 lots, basically to make it easier to develop, and I think it makes more sense as well. So it should be subject to the approval of that as well.
Okay, thank you. Someone here to speak on behalf of good evening.
Good evening. David Durbis on behalf of the Prieto family to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Well, let's see if we have any questions from the folks in the audience as well as the commission. Anyone wish to speak in favor in the audience? Anyone wish to speak against? I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioners, I have no one in the queue. Commissioner Seeger.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Crawford.
Second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Crawford. Commissioner Troncoso. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we go to re-subdivision. This is item 5. Item is 2023-3470 MRP. Re-subdivision of Lot 39 and Green Space 6 into lots 39A, 48, and 49 Wingfield subdivision. Owner and representative is Tammany North Properties LLC, Robert Bruno. The surveyor is John G. Cummings and Associates. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the property is located on the south and west sides of Crossvine Drive, west of Bayham Road, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create 3 lots. The public hearing is required considering that as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lots shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission. You may recall that this, was in front of you last year. It's coming back and it's now subject to item 1 to add the signature line, add the restrictive covenants, and also to make the required changes to Wingfield PUD subdivision, which we require to provide the following documents updated to the engineering department, which is 911 addressing approval, provide written verification from the utility provider, and also approval from the Planning Commission of this proposed minor subdivision.
Thank you. Is Mr. Bruno in the audience? Someone here to speak on behalf of this item? Well, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Do we have any of the commissioners wishing to make a motion? Commissioner Seeger.
I have several questions. One of them is concerns the wetland area, and when this is divided, what is proposed to go on lot 49, which is predominantly wetlands. My other question is concerning, do we have written verification from the utility provider that there will be sufficient sewage capacity?
That information has not been provided to us. That's why it's part of the request of the information to be provided. If if the commission wishes, you can postpone to the next meeting and we'll add it to the next agenda, and maybe the owner can provide that information.
I'll move to postpone for 1 month.
All right.
Postponing to the March 18th meeting or to the April meeting?
Yes. 18th.
You don't have to re-advertise.
I think we've asked to postpone to the next regular meeting,
At the next regular meeting?
the 18th, yeah. Well, wait, isn't that the special meeting?
The meeting was supposed to be on the 18th. The March meeting was supposed to be on the 18th. Today we're having the February.
Okay.
I would like to wait 30 days at least, so that doesn't make the 18th.
No problem. We'll move it to the April meeting, sir.
So it's going to be March the 18th?
No,
April 2nd.
no, April 9th.
Okay. All right.
Is there anybody here from
No, we didn't have anybody.
Tammany North Properties? Thank you.
Okay. I had Newland McInnes also in the queue. Nell?
I'm going to second the motion, but I would like to invite the residents to say what they have to say.
We can do that. We can do
Wanna
that.
Come on up.
You'll need to have a speaker card filled out after, but good evening.
Good evening. We've just purchased a lot there, and we're in the process of building, designing and building. But we're just concerned about the drainage, what's going to happen to the property if more lots are developed there.
Well, we'll be sure and ask that question when the representative comes before us.
Okay?
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, someone else wish to speak? Okay, I'm gonna close it to the public, bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Truxillo.
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
I seconded.
Okay, thank you.
Nell, you had anything else?
No, I'm trying to figure out how to get out of the window.
Commissioner Crawford? Yeah.
Okay. Question for staff. The current zoning, A1A, is 3-acre zoning, is that correct?
Correct. However, this is a PUD.
This is a PUD.
It's a planning and development, so some of the lots may not be 3 acres in size, as long as it meets the density requirements under the PUD.
Okay, so that's why we're considering this. It looks like most of the lots in that general vicinity are of a larger size than what's being proposed here. Is this a bona fide neighborhood? Is it a plotted neighborhood?
Yes. Yes, the plat is approved.
Do we know if they have a HOA in this neighborhood? Maybe perhaps the residents could tell us. Ma'am, the lady that spoke before, could you come back up for a second? Is there an HOA of your neighborhood?
Yes, there is.
There is. Do you know if they have an opinion on this?
They just sent us an email saying, come to the meeting and it should be interesting. That's about all they said.
Okay. And are most of the lots in the neighborhood similar size to this, or are they larger?
They're large. They're roughly 2 acres,
2 acres.
give or take, yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, we're going to postpone this. I just had a couple of questions I wanted to throw out there. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's it.
Commissioner Gaines.
I just want to make sure that you guys know that you have to come to the next meeting, okay? So don't like, even though you came up and spoke today, you do have to attend the next meeting so that you can give your opinion during that, okay? April 9th. April 9th, since you guys just got an email, I just want to make sure you guys put that on your calendars for the next one, okay?
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to postpone till April the 9th. Please vote.
Motion to postpone to April 9th carries.
All right, we go to item 6. Case is 2024-3686 MRP, re-subdivision of lots 262 to 266, 298, 299, 301 to 313. It's 0.0872 acres, 0.095 acres, 0.0909 acres, 0.1418 acres, 0.1523 acres, 0.1613 acres, 0.1613 acres, 0.1613 acres, 12 at 1.033 acre tracts, and a portion of East End Boulevard right-of-way into lots 262A through 266A, 298A, 299A, and 301A through 313A, Lakeshore Estates subdivision, Phase 2A. The owners are N-L Southeast LLC, Robert L. Torres Jr., Lakeshore Real Estate LLC, Nancy Collier, manager, HCW Equity LLC, Nancy Collier, member, NL ROW LLC, Robert L. Torres Jr., WW2, Robert L. Torres Jr., WW3, and Robert L. Torres Jr. Representative is Wayne Collier. Surveyors, R.W. Krebs. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Jeff Corbin. General location, the property is located on the east side of East End Boulevard, south of Lakeshore Boulevard, east and north and south of Marina Villa, Slidell, Ward 9, District 13. Staff?
The objective of this request is to allow to add a portion of tract WW3, which is the waterway beyond the subject properties in the rear, and also add a portion of the unconstructed East End Boulevard to the 20 lots. The minor subdivision, re-subdivision request requires a public hearing due to the fact that, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and the request shall be subject to items 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Collier. Good evening.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I'm representing the applicants, and the application is quite simple. Tammany Holding Company purchased 2,900 acres in 1996 and has been developing Lakeshore Estates over the last period of time by several phases. This particular phase 2A is at the southeastern corner, and at the time that phase 2A was approved by the Planning Commission, the expectation of the roadway and the depth of the water at the rear of the property was estimated. The roadway has been constructed. It's a 4-lane roadway with a median. The 140-foot right-of-way that was originally planned is no longer needed. So 25 feet of the right-of-way on each side of East End Boulevard would be added to the lots in question. And the easiest way to explain the issue with regard to the added 50 feet into the waterway is, I hope, a simple visual. The slope of the waterway is like this. The property runs like this, and until you get to this point far enough away from the end of the property, you don't have enough depth of water to utilize the property for which it was intended, and that is wharfs and docks and boathouses. So the expectation is that the original plan that was envisioned many years ago is now at the implementation stage where these additions are necessary in order to permit these lots to have full use of their property. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Collier. Anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this? All right, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McInnes.
Mr. Collier, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Long time no see.
It has been indeed.
Just for clarification, the extension of the lots into the water is not so that that can be filled, is
Oh,
it?
no. No, not at all. As you can well be aware, we're operating, as you well know, on a 25-year core permit. And our desire and the purchasers of the property's desire is simply to make sure that the property that is acquired has recreational use of the waterway. That's the full intent of it.
Okay. That was my question. I'm gonna hear my fellow commissioners.
Commissioner Seeger.
While you're there, I have a couple questions. So, can you give me that visual that you did about the depth of the water, the slope of the water, and the slope of the lots?
Yeah. If this is the slope of the water, and this is the present end of the property, this distance is not sufficient for a boat to reach the dock. So as you extend this 50 feet out, this depth of water is sufficient for the boats to have access to the wharfs in the dock.
Bad word, dredging?
No, there's no dredging involved at all.
Well, that would give you the depth of the water, right? Is that not allowed? Is that against? Why wouldn't they dredge right up to the lot? I don't understand why that wasn't deepened.
Well, the project is envisioned so that the lots that were subdivided in the map 4193 would have sufficient water access. If we go to dredge further into the waterways, that would not be consistent with our permit from the Corps or with the Department of Natural Resources.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well explained. So the lots, how far out do the lots actually extend out into the waterway?
The lots will wind up, the ownership will be 50 feet added. The variable is where the current water line is. So the property line is here. At the property line right now, some of them have 5 feet of water, some of them have 10 feet of water. This will bring uniformity to the whole area. So they'll all, and they don't need to use the entire 50 feet if they choose not to, because it's, as you well know, it's expensive to put those wharfs out there.
Gotcha. After being explained, I move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Seeger. Commissioner Gaines.
So I have extensive construction experience in that area, mostly on the marine side. So it's he's exactly right. So the reason why you don't want to dredge all the way up to the property line is because the bulkhead sheeting in that area is not to a sufficient depth. So if you were to dredge it out deep enough for a boat to have access, you would actually compromise the integrity of the bulkhead. So generally in that area, it's all dry land all the way up to the on the water side of the bulkhead for about 10 feet or more, and people build walkways out to their boathouse, which is in deeper water. So this would accommodate all of that and not compromise the integrity of the land.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay,
And I second the motion.
all right. And Commissioner Troncoso.
I have nothing further on it.
Pardon?
I'm good.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve, right? Yes. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, we go to item 7. Case is 2022-3161-MRP, re-subdivision of a portion of parcel D and parcels 2A and 3A into parcels D1, 2A1, 2A2, and 3A1, WT1, pond parcels 2 and 3, and the dedication of Harvey Drive and associated drainage and utility servitudes, Wadsworth subdivision / Gulf South Commerce Park, Phase 1B. Owner and representative is Crosby Development Company, LLC, Love's Travel Stops and Country Store, Brad Peck, and the ASBE Fund, Patrick Fitzmaurice. Surveyor is J.V. Burks and Associates. Parish Council District Representative is Arthur Laughlin. General location, the property is located on the west side of Wadsworth Boulevard and the north and south sides of Harvey Drive, on the south side of Gulf South Parkway, and on the north side of Louisiana Highway 1088 and Interstate 12, Mandeville, Ward 4, District 11. Staff?
The owner is requesting to create 5 parcels, 2 pond parcels, and dedicate Harvey Drive and the associated drainage and utility servitudes from a portion of Parcel D and Parcels 2-A and 3A. The public hearing is required considering that, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and a request shall be subject to items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
All right, thank you. Mr. Crosby. Good evening to you.
Good afternoon. I like these afternoon meetings. I don't know how you feel about it, but anyway. So this is really a continuation of the PUD amendment that we did last time. It's the southern part of the property that needed to be re-subdivided to comply with that PUD plan that you saw a month ago. So, and again, this was all part of those same discussions we had with the parish, all the meetings, and just getting the lots in the right shape and size that we wanted to create. So I'd be glad to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner Gaines.
A second.
Second by Commissioner Gaines. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Motion to approve carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Tentative subdivision review, item 8. Case is 2024-3682-TP, Brewster Place subdivision, developer owner Centerfire LLC, engineer surveyors J.V. Burks and Associates, Parish Council District Representative Honorable Kathy Seaton. General location, property is located on the west of Dummy Line Road, north of Brewster Road, west of Louisiana Highway 1077, south of Interstate 12, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 4. Staff?
Yes, sir. The tentative plans and documentation have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site on February 2nd, 2024. Tentative approval shall be subject to the below informational items, as well as comments numbers 1 through 3 being completed and addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Marone.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Paul Marone on behalf of Centerfire LLC. We have reviewed the staff comments and have addressed each of those items 1 and 3. The area net calculation that has been requested has been provided to Ms. Cook in the planning office, and she's acknowledged that that was what she needed and that it was sufficient. The note, item 3, the only comment was a note that needed to be corrected on the plat. That has been done. With regard to item 2, which is the sufficient water and sewer capacity, we've been in touch with Tammany Utilities and have requested that letter. We just have not received it yet, but we fully expect to be in receipt of the letter. Otherwise, we're in full compliance with all of the ordinances and requirements for tentative subdivision approval, and we would respectfully request your approval for this particular parcel on for Brewster Place subdivision. I'll be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Crowe.
Thank you.
All right, we have anyone wish to speak in favor of this subdivision? I know we got several here wish to speak against. We'll start with Matthew Corporal.
Yes, sir. So I had brought a few exhibit documents here. I'm not sure if we can pass those out. So thank you for allowing me to speak here today. My name is Matthew Caporal. I'm a resident of the Fairfield Oaks subdivision, which is the adjacent subdivision on the east side of the proposal. You'll see I've included Exhibit A, which kind of shows the position of our subdivision next to the proposed subdivision. We're here today to address several risks and concerns regarding flooding and infrastructure in the area. And we're concerned that the addition of 17 homes, particularly in such a small area behind our house, will exacerbate the issues that we're here to speak about today. So just to note, several days ago, actually 5 days ago to be exact, we created a website and we put a petition out, and we only shared it with our local neighbors that are in the subdivision that we live in. And we had a response of 65 signatures and multiple different comments in the feedback. So we've also included that in these exhibits that I've shared with you today. Some talking points I want to discuss are related to traffic, the electrical grid, the water and sewage, and most importantly, the flooding. So we have two schools, within our area, one of them being on Perilou and one of them being on Dummy Line. It's Madisonville and Lancaster Elementary. We have very common traffic issues in the mornings and the afternoons with those schools. Sometimes it takes upwards of 20 to 30 minutes just to clear off Brewster and cross in any direction going to 21, 22, or I-12. As we all know, there's multiple issues with traffic in the area, but I just wanted to kind of bring that back to where we're at here. So we also, in the last 12 months, have lost power at least 6 times. That's documented on record. Energy has a problem with our power grid, particularly in our subdivision. It's very common that we only lose power. I could include more there if needed, and I'll happily do that with the emails and whatnot for the alerts that we receive on that. As far as the water is concerned, I believe there is something going on within the Tammany Utility Commission. So we have had brown and chlorinated water for several years, where you'll fill your bathtub up, it's just brown, black water. You take a shower, it smells like you're in a pool of chlorinated water. So we're just kind of worried that the electrical grid and the water systems can't really handle additional homes in that area. Now, the main point of us being here is really for flooding. Given the current drainage that we have, if you look at the plans of the subdivision, the tentative subdivision, there's a natural drainage system that runs back there. There is a proposed a retention pond that they're looking to build on that. However, we have concerns that it's still not enough to mitigate the risk of the natural elevation decline that exists from our backyards. If you look at exhibits F and G that I've included, you'll see I've compared what is on the FEMA map versus the plan estimates that are in the subdivision plan, which are written in a 1 foot resolution versus what's in inches on the FEMA map. You'll see a gradual slope off from the east side of the west side of Fairfield Oaks going into the new subdivision, and how that would be blocked off by the proposal of at least half the homes on the east side of that property. So there's no servitude or drainage method to that ditch or that retention pond within those plans. And then I also want to express the fact that Springhaven and the Arundel subdivisions that have recently come up have actually elevated our flood levels. We've seen that's already impacted us on both sides of our neighborhood. And the addition of the pond is, it's I guess an attempt to take care of and resolve any potential issues, but right now that's just an unknown and it's theoretical. I've also included in Exhibit H through J more news articles, Facebook posts, petition comments, and in particular a guy that's in our neighborhood who actually built a moat around his house because he sits on the edge of the property where that drainage servitude that currently exists actually starts. So on the south side of that property and what wraps around the east side is the Spring Haven subdivision, and that's kind of where a lot of these issues come in from, flooding upwards into our yards. That being said, we commonly see 4 to 6 inches of rainwater accumulate in our backyards. We've actually seen it come up to the foundations, and our yards are generally swampy for up to 3 to 5 days after a just normal rainstorm, where it's actually difficult to even mow our lawns without sinking our lawnmowers. Fairfield Oaks residents have provided comments on their own experiences within the petition, so I ask that you please all submit that and review it. I want to point out also that FEMA has not updated their flood map since April 30th of 2008. The population of St. Tammany Parish has increased by 25% since then, and flood insurance costs are steadily on the rise, even in non-hazard areas. So again, this is just another concern that we have as residents of this local neighborhood. So that, in addition to overwhelming evidence of increased flooding as development continues, should be hopefully enough reason to at least make this tentative plan, give it further review within your commission. And just, you know, I want to point out that I read or parts of the Unified Development Code rewrite, and it seems like there are a lot of new things in there that kind of would apply here. So, you know, I ask in this that I assume that everyone's questions after hearing you also ask some of the questions, like you're diligent in these efforts. So if you can just kind of focus on this and analyze this particular subdivision proposal under high scrutiny, it would be much appreciated. Let's see. I believe I have covered mostly everything. And yeah, that's where I'll leave it. And I hope, you know, if you have any questions, you can get back with me on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, we have Phelan Chazon.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Fallon Chasson, and I want to also pretty much just confirm everything that he just said. We have a lot of the same concerns and issues. I just wanted to speak to make sure that you know, we have as much support as possible from our neighborhood. And I wanted to point out that, like he acknowledged, we only put this out to the Fairfield Oaks residents in that small neighborhood. And within a very short period of time, we had that much of a pushback because everyone's having these same problems. So like he said, please, you know, take a look at those numbers and the comments that were made there. We are very scared of what could possibly happen. I'm in real estate. I've been in real estate for a very long time. And on a daily basis, I am requesting insurance quotes to make these deals happen from a lending point of view. And being in real estate, obviously, I'm not against development. That's not the issue. The issue here is the prices that we're going to end up having to pay when that water starts rising. And the second one of our houses takes on water, it's pretty much, you know, it's going to affect all of us in a very negative way. And I'm seeing on a daily basis people being priced out of their homes due to insurance. So that's why this is such a huge concern to us. And I appreciate your review and your scrutiny of the issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I've got 4 more cards, but we've only got 1 minute and 44 seconds. If your comments go along with the other 2 folks that have already spoken, there's not a need to go through them again, okay? The next card I've got is Colleen Acevedo. Huh? Acevedo, okay. I know now why she helped me out.
Good afternoon. My name's Colleen Acevedo, and I actually live at 253 Fairfield Oaks subdivision. My concerns are the same. The only difference is I actually back up to Spring Haven. myself and a fellow neighbor, Randy Curricar, we are actually experiencing the flooding in our backyard that has taken place because of the neighborhood that is built adjacent to us, south of our neighborhood. We are having extensive flooding in our backyard. Springhaven also has a retention pond that is not holding the water that it needs to. Maybe it's holding, further south of their neighborhood. But because the house beds are built up so much, more so than ours, we're getting extensive flooding. In addition to this neighborhood, we're truly, truly concerned about the water intake and the density. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel Saunier?
I share the same concerns.
Okay, thank you. Randall? Okay.
Same issues concerning the flooding. I'm in phase 3 of Fairfield Oak subdivision, bordered right by Springhaven, and both where Colleen and I live, the water converges there. Half of it seems to run to the prospective neighborhood that's going to be built, Brewster Place, and the other half of it is having to go back and around Springhaven now. It is an issue since the building of that subdivision, so the concern again is with drainage and with the housing density of the new subdivision.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lloyd Ostendorf.
Hi, guys. Thank y'all for allowing me to speak. I am truly homegrown. I've been in Madisonville for 70 years, and I understand y'all got a tough job, and if you've been on Brewster Road, you understand the problems we have. My concerns is 17 houses on that piece of property is way too many. I understand people need to develop that property. I understand it will get developed sooner or later, but we don't need another Paraloo Trace or another Springhaven. Think about what you're putting on that piece of property. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's all of the cards that I have, so we'll go to rebuttal. Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few comments on the issues raised. Let's start first with density. This track is zoned A4. We are here in full compliance with that A4 zoning, which sets our density. We are less dense than our zoning allows. Our density on this track is the same density as Fairfield Oaks. So we are zoned the same. Our density on this is less than is permitted. So that density is not an issue at this stage. It is an issue at zoning, and that density has been in place with that zoning on this property for quite some time. With regards to one of the comments, and I certainly respect the comments and concerns about the flooding and the drainage and issues that they currently have in Fairfield Oaks, and the fear and desire not to have it worsened by anything that we're doing. But it was suggested that the commission should take a further review of all this. But of course, as you know, the process is such that is exactly what the commission would be doing. This is tentative. This is simply a layout to the lots. It does not allow us to go build this. Before we could ever build anything out there, we would have to do the detailed hydrological study. All of the drainage information that has been mentioned would have to be identified and addressed, submitted to your staff, ultimately to you before another public hearing. So I want to be clear that the concerns, while absolutely legitimate and deserve to be investigated and addressed, really are a later stage in this process, and that would be at the preliminary stage where that is covered. I do want to be clear that the issues that they may have, obviously, I don't think they're asking us to fix them, but I want to be clear, we can't fix those problems. But what we are required to do is address their concern about making them worse. We cannot make them worse by our development. Now, how does that happen? That gets into the details of the engineering and the hydrology and so forth. So that is something that has to be identified at the preliminary stage. The hydrological study has to address that, your staff has to review it, and we have to come back before you to make sure that we can comply with those requirements and that we fulfill our obligation under your ordinance of of building this in accordance with your requirements, but in a manner that doesn't affect our neighbor in any negative way. There were several other comments other than drainage. There was talk about the power. Obviously, that's not something that we control. That is the power company. Water. The issues with brown water is an operation issue. It's not something that we are involved in. We have been in touch with Tammany Utilities. There are improvements that are being made to those systems. I can't give you the chapter and verse on that, but we have been told that there are improvements going on, and there is capacity there. So concerns about the operation of that system really would be addressed better to Tammany Utilities, who is the operator. But from our standpoint, we know that we've got to have central utilities. There are those utilities in the area, and we are told that there is capacity there. Obviously, we'll have to demonstrate that to you as part of the preliminary review. And then finally, with regards to traffic, we're talking about 17 lots. That is a relatively negligible amount. I understand the concerns about traffic, but in fact, under your ordinances, 17 lots does not even trigger the requirement for a traffic study. The traffic study doesn't get triggered until you have 25 lots or greater. So we understand those concerns. We certainly respect and intend to address the issues on drainage. Our engineer is here. He took very detailed notes. And quite frankly, it's something that the staff had already brought up to us. There were some issues that were already identified for us that we will be looking at closely if and when we get to the preliminary stage. So I don't want to minimize those. I do want to reserve the ability to come back when I have the data to address them appropriately after the hydrological study has been done, after the engineering has all been put in place. We have detailed topo work of the entire area. We know where the water is going and how it will drain. But of course, that would be at the preliminary phase. So at this interim step of tentative, which is the layout of the lots, these lots meet or exceed your minimums, and we are less dense than our zoning allows. So with that being said, I believe that we've done what we need to do to proceed to the next stage and have the opportunity to address some of these very serious concerns. Thank you again for your time and your consideration this afternoon.
Thank you, Paul. All right, we've had rebuttal on both sides.
No, we have not had rebuttal from the other side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You need to call them up.
Yes.
All right, so, first and foremost, I want to thank you for mitigating some of our concerns with that. However, I do want to point out that we mentioned that the subdivision area is rezoned to A4. I believe this took place in 2020, which is prior to multiple builds of neighborhoods in our area taking place. Since then, this is where we've seen the increase in flooding in our neighborhood. So I understand the density, I believe, is 4 houses per acre. This particular one is 3.1 units per acre. And within those plans, it allows for up to 12 inches of foundation for each of those houses. So there's still potential risk there in pushing back that flood water that we already experience. I want to point out, we're not asking to fix these problems per se. We're asking to prevent further problems and exacerbating these issues. So we're in the end here, I think we're trying to avoid putting others at risk, especially in even this new neighborhood, without updating any infrastructure and making sure that whatever these plans involve include mitigation of flood risk and the electrical grid and the water. And then the last thing I wanted to ask is there a way that we can petition something for a traffic study in this area? I understand there's not 17 houses doesn't necessitate the need for a traffic study. However, I will say in any given direction coming from our property, you will experience 20 to 30 minute delays depending on the time of the day. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Some of the rest of you wish to speak? You got three minutes. All right. No one else is coming forward to speak, so I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McInnes.
I just want to express my concern as we have these areas that are relatively flat and a lot are poorly drained, and the area off of Brewster's one such area. And as we start filling it in with all the, the more and more we develop, the more the remaining pieces are really critical, and the more we're going to increase drainage problems once we fill out the development. And I don't know if that's where we're at here, but it makes it really difficult for ignoring it. Yes, the zoning is there, but is this good for the health and welfare of the surrounding already people there? And it is sort of a who got developed first. You got to make sure that the new development doesn't harm those. Let me ask the young man that came up first with all the information.
Yes, ma'am.
You said you live in the Fair Oaks,
Yes,
Fairfield
ma'am.
Oaks?
Yes, ma'am. We've been there since
And
2015.
you have lots adjacent to the proposed development?
Yes, we do. We're right. In fact, if you look at the proposed development, we are the second house on the right side. Well, I'll say on the west side of the street. And we're backed up to within a foot of the proposed fence line of that new neighborhood.
And it looks like from the handout, from your drainage is going west onto the proposed property?
That's correct.
So that's how these guys were developed, with the water to go onto this undeveloped piece.
Yes, ma'am.
Which you shouldn't, that's probably what the natural drainage was, I don't know. But that poses a problem when we develop that, because that is the way that subdivision was approved. It's hard to approve drainage in a, project by project. It's all connected. And let me ask, that's all I had for you. Let me ask Paul. It's an engineering question. It looks, the topo lines of the handout are real faint, but
Right.
it does look like the low point is the center of the property where the road is. Is it like in a valley? Is it sloped downward?
There's a ditch on the western boundary of this property.
But I'm just talking about the topography of the property.
Sean,
Yeah, I can't make out the topo lines either.
Yeah, I can't make them out.
So, the topo that's on that map is from the LiDAR map. The accuracy of that is not great for a flat area. So one of the things that we discussed with staff was the potential to fly LiDAR on the property to be able to get into the adjacent properties to see how everything actually drains, but that would be done at preliminary, a little bit more detail. The accuracy of those is a lot better than the freely available LiDAR that's on this map right now.
My inclination is, given what we know, until we know more, I'd rather postpone and get some more information. Or say, these houses have to be built on piers, so the water can go under, and you're not gonna overly impact the neighborhood. I hope my fellow commissioners have any other ideas, but I'm hesitant to approve it as is.
so you're putting a motion on the floor to postpone?
No, I'm throwing the idea out to the commissioners, see if anybody else agrees, but I'm not making it formal.
Okay. Commissioner Truxillo.
Sir?
Yeah.
Some of the things you brought up, you know, it's beyond the scope of the developer. Like Entergy, I actually did a survey of that area with Entergy because I'm retired from Entergy because other subdivisions was complaining about the multiple outages. So we wrote the whole thing, and there's a lot of tree issues there that they're aware of, and they will be working on it. I just want to give you a bright spot that outages are going to be less frequent once they complete that task.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, and I just, you know, for the record, I want to state that that is a genuine concern that we have, but the biggest one ultimately comes back down to flooding.
Right.
I just want to make sure that's understood, that there is a natural drainage servitude back there. I don't know when it was created. I don't know how or when it got there, but that is per the FEMA maps and the resolution of just several inches at a time. You can trace that back and see absolutely the west side of Fairfield Oaks is draining off into that. And the east side of the proposed new development will absolutely block that off from us. And unless there's another servitude or something that drains off into what will be the pond, I can't even think of the term, but just the pond in general and where that is, with the other issues that we're seeing, water coming around the property from the south side, we will have an issue with water rising up into our yards at levels we haven't seen before.
Yeah, you know, 2 inches of rain is a lot of rain, and especially in an hour time. So no matter what kind of drainage plan you have, water will back up with 2 inches of rain. But I'm kind of on the fence with this with Nell about postponing it. I'm gonna let the other commissioners comment.
Okay, Commissioner Seeger.
May I speak with the engineer for a moment? I believe I heard you say that there is a drainage ditch on the west side?
Yes, sir.
Of this property? And is it the whole length of the property?
Yes, it goes from the north, from Brewster, all the way to the south.
And is there natural drainage that flows across the property to that ditch across all of the property?
From the LiDAR, it definitely looks very flat. It goes up and down, but it's such a flat LiDAR and the accuracy is not that good. It's very difficult to say exactly what it does. Likely, it was put there for a reason. It wasn't put there by this property owner. It was there for a while. So ultimately, all these things would be investigated during preliminary whenever we have a chance to actually spend money and do all these investigations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to go back to something that Commissioner McInnes said, and I'm going to elaborate on that, and that's about building on piers. And 100 years ago, any of our grandparents that built had common sense to build on piers if they were in a flood zone. And I don't know what's happened to our society, but we have dummied down. As long as people will continue to purchase houses built on slabs, they're going to continue being built on slabs. At this point, we cannot legislate types of buildings in most of the areas that we're talking about. Don't buy them. If they're in a flood zone, you know it's going to flood. I don't understand why people buy. Really, that just completely befuddles me. I don't understand. I would encourage the developers to offer some kind of incentive for people that want to build on piers. I know that one of the subdivisions near here offered it was an amount of money, I think it was about $5,000 off of Dove Park Road to do that, and I would encourage them to do that. Flood insurance, if this subdivision is built or not, that's not going to affect flood insurance. Flood insurance is going up any place south of 12 is going to have higher flood insurance. If you can get flood insurance and you know the cost of that, all of our insurance is going up across the board. I don't think that if this subdivision floods, it's going to influence that. Look for that. Yes, it is, to the lady that's in real estate, it is pricing people out of houses. You're exactly right. It's pricing developers who might be developing any type of apartment complexes. It's forcing them out of the business too. It's a bad time in our economy right now. Unfortunately, one of the things that we're being hit with is insurance increases, and we've all been affected by that. My house is never going to flood. My insurance still went up almost 80%. That's the time we're living in.
May I?
Anyway, as Mr. Marone has stated, I believe, in my opinion, that a lot of the questions that we have, that I have about this development, as well as you have, about the slope and about things like that, they're going to be answered. This is a tentative review. Those questions will be answered in the preliminary review. It's part of the process. I encourage you, when this particular thing comes to preliminary review, come listen to what the developers have to say. Don't just drop this. I appreciate you all being here and bringing up these great questions, and I think to get the process moving one way or the other, I'm going to move to approve.
If I may.
I'll give you just 1 minute or so.
Thank you, sir. I truly appreciate it.
Okay.
So I'd like to point out, and I appreciate everything that you've said. I really do. So answering one of the things that you brought up as to why on earth people buy houses that are on slabs, is because that's what's offered to us. It's supply and demand. Within your own unified development code, the one that's been rewritten, you don't have these rules and regulations to propose that developers have to do that in order to prevent flooding in their areas. So I want to point out that that is a common issue that has resulted in multiple approved subdivisions flooding. The ones that have gone through hydrological surveys, the ones that have the topos done, the ones that still end up flooding and their flood insurance increases, also countering your point that yes, it's going up naturally, but you also have subdivisions that once they flood, that goes up exponentially. So please keep that in mind as you make your decision today. Thank you.
Mr. Brown?
Thank you, and I'll be brief. Just to Ms. McGinnis's point, you know, she said she really needs some more information, which I respect and understand, but all of that information is at the preliminary stage. I mean, to table it now or deny it now means we don't ever get that information. I mean, that's, again, tentative doesn't allow us to build anything. So if we leave here today, these people do not have to worry about this development being built because of this approval. It is just a step in the process. Until preliminary is done and we have submitted that information, it has been reviewed, and then you have approved it, if you approve it at that point. In other words, there's another bite at the apple that is designed specifically for these very serious issues. And I just wanted to make that point.
Okay, and that's a good point. I hope y'all understand that, you know, this is just tentative, and then we have to go into the preliminary, which gets us and you a lot more information. Do we have to approve it at preliminary? No, if we don't get the right answers, we don't. So, you know, it's taking three different segments in our ordinances and putting it together till we get to where we want to go with it. Okay? All right. Let's see, I'm going to go back to Troncoso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I certainly understand Ms. McGinnis's concerns relative to this. Relative to the issue of the postponement, though, I don't think we're giving the process a fair shake as to what it should be. There is a lot of unanswered questions relative to this. One of the puzzling things about this, though, is that the flood zone is C, which is the minimal risk. And looking at that, and based off of the information that, Sean, you have relative to the topography, it looks like a flat piece of property with Fairfield Oaks kind of maybe migrating over towards that property. These are all the questions that are going to be answered once we get to the next stage. And we're beating the same drum, but I want y'all to know as well, these things, we understand what your concerns are. We certainly have ours. And I think the issue now is that we need to move forward. It's zoned properly based off of what they're proposing. They have a pond that's in the back that's going to be a detention or retention pond. Is that adequate? We don't know that. Not until the hydrology is done and things of that nature to get a full understanding. So with that, I second the motion so that we move forward to the preliminary.
Okay.
And I second that motion, that's right. And then we'll see how everything goes from there.
Okay. Commissioner Horn.
All right, so I would have liked to have spoken before it was motion and second. I hear the concerns of the citizens the residents who live in that area. The electric grid, Commissioner, thank you for that information. But when is the thing with the power grids? Will this be developed and that problem still exists? That's not for you to answer because that's rhetorical. You don't know. I don't think you know, do you?
It can be within 6 months.
That fast?
Oh, yeah.
How long could it be?
Could be a year, but they promise within the next 6 months they'll have things.
Okay.
About 2 issues over there.
All right. And I'm asking that just for information. My next question is for staff. Staff, our procedures of when the studies are done in order for us to make a decision. I'm not comfortable with making a decision on half of information. It's a what if. What if the drainage? It's a what if. What if it drains down into that property? It's a what if. What if the east side is going to push back on the west side of the existing subdivision? What if? We have to approve it and then get to another area. Why can't we get that information first? And I think as the commission, we're privy to make a decision of certain things to be brought to us in order for us to make a decision if we're not comfortable going into that approval. Is that correct? I know it was multiple things, I'm sorry.
I'll take a stab at that if I can. I would kind of do Mr. Palmerone's point, and I totally understand what if, when are we going to get this, and that's why every subdivision that comes before you does have a series of approvals, all subject to a public hearing for the residents to be able to come out. Unfortunately, the way ordinance is written, what's required at that particular stage of the approval process is what is going to be submitted at that particular phase. And that's what you're approving or denying or postponing or making a motion on today is the tentative. The tentative does not give any type of constructability. We've had many tentative cases that have actually been approved in the past, come to the preliminary permitting side, couldn't make it work due to land restriction size, drainage size, feasibility size. Not saying that this is going to happen on this one, please don't mistake me, but it is not uncommon for a subdivision to get a tentative approval and then the approval expires, it goes dormant, it just does not proceed forward because of the aforementioned issues or other issues that I haven't mentioned yet. So while I understand I have a lot of questions you want them answered right now, so does the residents, so does the staff for that matter, we would love to see some of this information now. It just unfortunately, it's not required at this time. Now, there is the miscellaneous section in the subdivision ordinance, and you've read through that, and you can request additional documentation above and beyond that, and it's kind of spells out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if anything you wanted that has not been provided falls within that one, you have the right as a commissioner to ask that or request that rather. But to the point that was made previously, a lot of the questions will be required at the preliminary approval and will not move forward until that documentation is submitted. But you know, on the developer side, they said, well, we're not going to, if we can't get through this point, there's no point to spend money on these to get to that point. So there's that the steps and step process, if you will. But I don't know if I'm talking in circles.
No, you're not.
But I can only, they can only produce what is required at that time or whatever they deem necessary for your approval under that miscellaneous. But I just want to be very clear that a tentative approval does not mean they get a work order tomorrow. It does not mean they go construct, and it does not mean the residents will not have opportunity to voice an additional opinions, concerns, questions at a preliminary hearing or at any other point. If they want to schedule a public meeting, they have the request. They can request that through the developer. They can request that through the council person. There's multiple other processes to do things of that nature with as well. So
Right, and we've seen those. I'm just trying to figure out, is our ordinance out of date as far as, which seems to me like common sense, find this out first. I understand as far as the developer spending the money in order to do it, but they're developers.
yes. No, yes,
The residents are kind of held hostage to, if we make a decision to let it go and we pass this thing all the way through, then after it's all said and done, whatever happens, because nature is nature, then we've put them in a vulnerable position. We understand the studies,
Yes, sir.
but just like the other commissioner said, 2 inches is a lot in an hour.
But you won't be passing it through to its entirety right now. You will have to, again, hear this case at a preliminary that will come before you, the planning commission body, and you will have the right to vote again on this one. So
Right.
this is not the last time that you will have an authority to make an action for, against, postponement, whatever you want to call it, on a
Right.
case like this. Just want to make sure you're also very aware of that.
Right.
You will see this with that detailed information, and then you can ask those questions. Where does the water go? What does 2 inches of rain look like? Was there servitude added or not? Just throwing out hypotheticals,
Right.
or what could be asked. And to speak to the ordinance, and the gentleman brought it up earlier, that there is a rewrite, so we do feel some things needed to change and needed to move forward, and that's what that UDC rewrite that you've heard so much about is.
Right.
It is moving forward, so.
Right. Right now, under the miscellaneous section that allows us to request and ask for more information, I know that there's a motion on the floor right now to approve. I can't make a motion on top of that, but I am going to speak that we don't move forward on this and require the more information so that we can make a decision. I mean, as a commissioner, we have to make a decision based on what we know. We look to staff for clarity on things that's gray areas. There's too many variables with this piece. That's the electric. There's the question of a stressed subdivision already, that you're going to place another subdivision next to it. There's the traffic. It's too many pieces. I'm not comfortable with saying, yeah, let's move forward and see about the what ifs later. It's kind of putting the cart before the horse. And I'm going to ask this commission to require some more information before we go forward, if you all see the same.
Commissioner McInnes.
I just want to touch base real quick. The idea that when land is flat, that it's not wet, wrong. When it's flat, the water just sits there. It doesn't move, and that makes it wetter. That's very clear on a lot of the preserves I managed. Actually, some of the driest land we find was closer to the creek, and the further away where it was flat was the wettest. Hydrologic studies it's basically a drainage study of the property that's being developed. It's not a comprehensive study of the entire watershed or even the small watershed. And we don't have the data for the impacts as we continue to build out all green space. We don't know. We don't collect that information. I don't know, staff, any of our plans that are undergoing gonna help in any way? I know it may help. I don't know if it'll be enough. Yeah, it's just I'm not finding the right word, the comprehensive impacts, the collective impacts.
Two things, and I don't think it really warrants on this particular development, like you said, as an overall impact, but we do have the comprehensive drainage plan, which will help, and that will really more fund regional projects and regional issues. And then with the water sector, that started back in 2016, based on all those floods that happened over on I-12. We actually met with them in December 2023, this past December, and they were fine-tuning their modeling of that, where they actually modeled all of our basins in St. Tammany Parish, which I know that you'll be highly interested. It's a very, very detailed model and a very, very useful tool that shows actual inundation patterns based on different rain events and storm sizes. So it'll actually kind of give modeled data that's calibrated that says this is what, to a degree of certainty, obviously like every model is, but where inundation occurs, and it's pretty amazing. Now the finalized data that I'm not going to dare to speak to, but it was nice that we did actually get to meet with them in December of last year, and that it was being calibrated. So it's,
and I'm sorry, who was that?
The Louisiana, I'm sorry, I said water sector, sorry, Louisiana Watershed Initiative.
Oh, good,
Sorry.
good, yeah, excellent.
Too many initiatives, thank you.
Yeah, well, so, I understand the process. It does just make us make these decisions, and every step you approve is harder to take back. Once the zoning's there, once the tentative is there, it's just, you're starting to have a momentum, and it's, so you have to be, we have to be very careful and think about these things. But I'm done with my comments. The motions are out there.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Narcisse.
So one thing I would like to say is I want to commend you for having a whole lot of information. You knew exactly what you were talking about. You knew exactly how it was going to go. With that said, I want to ask Mr. Marone if it's possible to, or even staff, if it's possible to get the traffic study done, because that was one of their main concerns. I know it doesn't trigger an automatic, but is that something we can look at potentially doing to kind of quell some of the fears of this inside the next step of the preliminary if it goes that way? Is that a, yes, somebody.
Microphone.
Okay.
So section 12594 of the code, it deals with miscellaneous provisions for the planning commission. It says the planning commission shall review whether subdivision plans meet the minimum requirements and shall consider whether the plans ensure and conform to the best interest of public health, safety, and welfare. The planning commission shall reserve the right to stipulate any reasonable additional requirements for subdivisions. So even though a traffic impact analysis is not triggered because it does not meet the 25 lot requirement, it is something that this commission could require as a stipulation to the approval at the tentative stage and review at the preliminary stage.
I would say, for those of you who made the motion, if you could possibly amend your motion for that, that'd be fantastic to try to quell some of these things. I do think part of the process is going through and we get an initial introduction to this, and then when we get to the preliminary stage, that's when we can get to the meat of what you're saying is like, does this really work? And I think this is the introduction, because if we skipped right to the preliminary, then it's new information all at one time. This is now, okay, now we have a soft introduction, and I think the preliminary is going to give us a chance to really nose to the grindstone and get it where it needs to be. And I think y'all are capable with the information y'all brought to us. I think y'all are very capable of arguing anything that is not going to stand up to that scrutiny. So I definitely commend you guys for that. I would beg for you to amend to get the traffic study done, because we know Brewster Road is a very highly trafficked road, and we would like to see the impact of that.
Okay. Commissioner Seeger.
I understand y'all's concern. I don't think you understand the process. The process is put in place to address all of these issues. and they will be addressed. And, Mr. Chair, I call for a vote. There is a motion and a second on the floor.
But we have one more commissioner that's requested to speak.
I can't tell. We don't have
I understand.
the new system.
Okay. Commissioner Crawford.
Okay, let's see, I have a question for either Sean or staff. Do we have a BFE for this location? Sean, do you know?
It's flood zone X, so there's no BFE.
There's no BFE on it.
But we will investigate how high the home should be.
Okay. The second question, I'm looking here on the flood zone, the firm map is October of '89. Do we have a more recent firm map than that, Ted? In this area?
So the 89 is the effective map. The one that you also hear referenced is the preliminary map, the one in '08 that the actual gentleman in the audience referenced. It has not been formally adopted, but that would be the more recent data right now, but it has not been adopted yet. But to answer your question, the more recent data is '08.
Okay. So that's probably something we want to have an opportunity to look at, perhaps from the staff side before the
We
next
look at
meeting.
both of them, and in both cases, this property does not fall in either one of the flood zones, but they will still have a finished floor elevation requirement, just from ordinance.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay, it's all the question I had, and I realize we can request the traffic study, which I think would be a good thing to add to the motion, if we could do that before we vote.
Mr. Speaker has declined to do that. He said you'd have to vote no.
Okay, okay. So you're not going to add that, Tom? Okay.
Okay. I had a couple of notes here, and we've gone through it. One thing that was brought up was power problems. And you're on CLECA? No, you're on energy, right? That's something that hopefully they will get into and get better power. Paul, I realize that they're not required, and I use the word required, to have a traffic study, but just looking at the map and everything, they need an egress and entrance to get some slowdown and speed up lanes on that subdivision, and just about everyone on Brewster Road probably needs that, but once the cart's out of the horse, or the horse is out of the barn, it's tough to go back and get that. So we've got a motion and a second to approve. Please vote.
Oh, sorry.
You got the right button in.
The motion to approve fails.
Correct. It requires 6 to approve.
Okay. So goes,
Unless someone appeals it, doesn't do anything else.
okay. All right, so the motion failed on preliminary. Okay? You can take it to the council, and that's what, the 2-month process? Probably?
Well, it's, yeah, I mean, it would be the developer appealing it to the council. I think they know.
Okay, but it takes about 2 months.
It'll probably be on the, it could possibly be on the April agenda.
Okay, probably be on the April agenda. Okay? All right, I don't see any other items on the agenda, so I think I heard somebody say adjourn. Okay, thank you.